This lesson will be done lying on your back. So please lie down on your back, and as you lie on the floor, sense the quality of your resting right now. How much of yourself can you surrender to the gravitational field of the earth? As if you were being cradled in a gigantic lap. Sensing the ebb and flow of your breathing. Can you sense the pulsating rhythm of your heart? Feel the rhythm of the blood flowing through your veins. A rhythm that is uniquely yours. A rhythm that is malleable, that can change and adapt to whatever it is you are doing at the moment. A rhythm that even responds to your thoughts. Recall for a few moments your process of going through the Unbound lessons. Was there any one process that stands out in your memory? One that had particular meaning for you? What was it like? Can you remember how you felt? What were the sensations? What did you and your body learn? Recalling perhaps a moment of frustration. Did your breathing somehow alter itself just now in remembering a moment of struggle? Can you be with the memory and have your breath be free-flowing and unaltered? Was there a moment during or after a lesson where you realized that you were changing, healing? Give yourself appreciation for your willingness to be with yourself, for having the courage to sense yourself on a deep level, for your willingness to go through challenges and become self-aware. And let all that go and come to sense yourself right now and how you fit against the ground. Have your arms lying long by your sides, and bring your awareness to your right arm with your right elbow resting on the floor. And now bend your elbow so that your right forearm comes to be vertical to the floor. Your elbow remains on the floor. Your wrist and fingers can relax so that the wrist is bent and your fingers are indicating the direction of your right foot. Your fingers know where your right foot is. And now begin a very simple movement simply touching your right index finger to your thumb and then releasing it slowly several times. Your thumb and your right index finger coming together and separating. And now, as you connect them, imagine that you are pulling a thread, and pull it towards yourself, leaving your elbow on the floor, so that as your thumb and your index finger meet, your elbow bends a bit more, and your right wrist is drawn upwards a bit towards your right shoulder. Your fingers remain pointing in the direction of your right foot. Your right elbow stays on the ground. So you are pulling this imaginary thread towards yourself, and you might imagine that the thread originates from somewhere on the floor. Start with your hand flat on the floor with your palm down, and imagine taking hold of a thread and pulling it from the floor upwards, bending the elbow, bringing the wrist in the direction of your right shoulder, and then opening your hand, letting the fingers separate and the hand to float down, the palm to open and come down towards the floor, and taking again another piece of thread with your thumb and your forefinger and pulling it, drawing it gently away from the floor towards your right shoulder, opening the hand and allowing the fingers and hand to float back downwards towards the floor. So you are pulling this imaginary thread towards yourself, and as the hand comes forward in the direction of your feet towards the floor, your thumb and finger detach, and then repeat that again. Your fingers are together as you pull the thread, and your forearm comes closer together to your upper arm. As your fingers detach, the fingertips float upwards and backwards, and the palm of your hand can softly open, so that this hand movement begins to feel like a wave, as if your hand were waving gracefully through water. Rest your arm a moment. And draw up your knees and bring your feet to standing. Not too close together, not too far apart. The Goldilocks principle. Just right. And again, begin this pulling movement with your right hand, bringing your right forearm closer to your upper arm, pulling the thread from the floor, the wrist coming towards your shoulder, thumb and index finger closing and then releasing as the fingers float upwards and you open your palm. And as you release your fingers and open your hand and the palm begins to face the floor, allow your elbow to leave the floor and think of extending your arm just the slightest bit towards your right foot. And continue to do that slowly. And connect now your thumb and your third finger. Take the silk from the floor with the thumb and the third finger. And at a certain stage in your unfolding, your elbow will lift from the floor as the extension of your hand continues. Drawing the thread, your elbow will stay on the floor. And opening the hand and lowering the hand, feel when the appropriate moment is for your elbow to lift from the floor as your palm floats downwards, and the elbow again rests its weight on the floor as you draw the wrist back, pulling the thread. Continue this movement and pull the thread now with your fourth finger and thumb. Very gently, very lightly, as though the thread were very delicate, And continue using now your thumb and little finger with your elbow on the floor, pulling the thread using your thumb and your little finger, allowing your elbow to lift off the floor as your hand floats downwards and your arm lengthens, finding the right moment for you to have that movement happen. Let go of everything, lengthen down your legs, and rest. And notice your resting state. Draw up your knees again and place your feet flat on the floor. Begin to pull the silk again with your right hand as before, bending your right elbow, and this time do the movement bringing all of your fingers together with your thumb as you pull on your imaginary thread. It's a silk thread, very delicate, and extend your fingers as your hand opens and floats downwards. Make it a very light, delicate movement. You pull on the silk as though you were pulling on a silk thread, the way silk used to be harvested in ancient China. Pulling on the silk, unwinding it from around the little silkworm in her cocoon, taking care to keep the movement continuous and even so as not to break or snag the thread. And begin to make the movement a little smaller so that your fingers don't actually close, as if now you have silk threads streaming from the pads of all your fingers. And as you pull the hand towards you, it's as though your hand were forming itself around a big, soft ball of cotton. Feel how your palm hollows itself, draws itself in, the silk threads still streaming from your fingers. Your forearm moving through space. Your elbow can leave the floor as you extend the fingers and the palm floats upwards, then downwards. Let go of it all and rest. Draw up your knees and place your feet on the floor. And begin to explore this wave-like motion now with your left hand. Begin by pulling your silk thread first with your thumb and your forefinger of your left hand. Pulling the thread from the floor, bending the elbow, opening the hand, releasing the thumb and the forefinger as the hand floats down towards the floor. The thumb and the forefinger, drawing the thread. And now try the movement with your thumb and your middle finger. Breathing, sensing yourself. Your thumb and your ring finger. Closing them delicately together. And your thumb and your little finger. forearm waving softly through space. Pause a moment. And now draw your silk thread with your left hand, with all your fingers touching together with your thumb, pulling upwards and inwards, almost as though your fingers were puckering for a kiss. Allowing your elbow to leave the floor as your hand floats downwards in the direction of the floor, making the movement very even so as not to break or snag your silk thread. Pause a moment. And now do this movement with both of your hands, with silk threads streaming from all of your fingers, and both your hands closing around soft balls of cotton, so your fingertips don't even meet. Smoothly, slowly. What color are your threads? Can you sense a pulsating on your fingertips? And now can you imagine two jellyfish pulsating along together, propelling themselves with such a motion, floating in a liquid medium, boneless. And now, as you do this movement with your hands, see what you could also do with your feet to make a similar movement, so that every time you pull your silk threads with your fingers, your toes can lightly draw along the floor as though you were sucking something off the floor from the balls of your feet, and your toes can lick the floor. Go slowly and go lightly. No effort. 4 jellyfish idly undulating underwater. Your toes brushing the floor, scooping along the floor gently. Extending your toes as you extend your fingers. Allowing the ankles to flex. Let go of all that and rest. Please draw up your knees again. Have your feet comfortably on the floor, your knees balanced towards the ceiling. And begin again to go along for a little swim with your 4 new friends, the jellyfish. Your elbows can stay on the floor, and your heels stay on the floor. Moving slowly, go very slowly and see if you can clear the movements of any tension. The movement can be very small, symbolic even. Do the lightest, softest movement possible. Pay attention to the synchronizations. Sense the connectedness of yourself, working together with yourself. And sense where else in yourself is there a recognition, a resonance with this movement. What else might like to participate? Make the movement smaller. Softer. Even softer. Discover in yourself this delicate threshold to sense what else is moving. One movement, one mind. And invite your tongue to participate. When in the chorus of your gentle pulsating, might you lightly bring the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And when might you open your mouth a bit, relaxing the jaw open and bringing your tongue downward to rest. See if you can relax your jaw open as you open your fingers and your toes. Not a big movement, just a little more open, a little more closed. Fluid. Let go of it all and rest. Notice the space you are now in, your quality of being right now. Your totality of rest. Close your eyes and feel your eyes resting. Can you feel their weight? Feel them sinking into their resting places in your skull. Where do they go? How do they arrange themselves? Is it different than when you use them for seeing? Without opening your eyes, bring them as though to see. Can you feel your eyes floating to the front without opening your eyes? And now let them float back to their resting place. And again, bring them as though to see something in front of you behind closed lids. And then back to rest. And keeping your eyes closed, imagine now that you had to look at something that was difficult to see. Perhaps you were trying to read very, very fine print in a very poorly lit room. How would this feel on your eyes? What would this feel like? How would you arrange your eyes to do this? And then let that go and let your eyes relax back into the resting place. And now bring your eyes as though to see in front of you, but just allow whatever image you may be imagining to come to you, so that you don't have to reach out and grab it with your eyes, but the image can just fall onto the back of your retina. And you can open your eyes and experiment with this movement a few times, arranging your eyes as though striving to see something in front of you. And then letting that go and allowing the image to just softly come to you, all-encompassing. No work to do. The image comes to you. And let go of that and rest. Please draw up your knees and place your feet on the floor. And begin to draw your silk threads from the floor, bending your elbows, bringing the forearms vertical to the floor, the wrists closer to the shoulders, opening the hands and coming back down. And beginning now to undulate, to pulsate with both your hands and your feet. And including now your tongue and your jaw. Your hands, your feet, and your mouth are all pulling upwards in unison. How do you breathe as you do this? And how might your eyes like to move behind their closed lids? Sense if there is anything happening in your spine. How might your spine also resonate with this movement? What might happen to your different curves? Can you find a way to roll your pelvis, not lift it from the ground, but roll your pelvis towards and away from your head? What would be the timing, the coordination together with your hands and your feet, your tongue, your jaw, your eyes, and your breath? And pause a moment. And begin your slow pulsations once again, pulling your silk threads. As you pull your hands and your feet and your tongue upwards, imagine your belly button is also being pulled inwards and towards your back and up towards your head. Feel if there is anything happening in your spine. How might your spine also resonate with this movement? What might happen to your different curves? Can you find a way to roll your pelvis, not lift it from the ground, but roll your pelvis towards and away from your head? What would be the timing, the coordination together with your hands and your feet, your tongue, your jaw, your eyes, and your breath? Pause a moment. Have your knees bent and your feet placed on the floor. And again begin to pull your silk threads with your hands and your feet. And as you pull your hands and your feet and your tongue upwards, imagine your belly button is also being pulled inwards and towards your back, inwards and towards your back, and up towards your head. So that your lower back comes a little more in contact with the floor, and the pelvis rocks a bit towards your head. Just hint at it. And your neck. How would your neck like to respond to this rocking? Arching gently away from the floor and then lengthening back down, so that more and more of your entire self begins to participate in this wave-like motion. Make it small. Ebb and flow. Uniform, so that there is no moment of accent, no moment of struggle. Waves do not need to struggle. What gives waves their power is their totality of intention. Let go of it all and rest. Can you sense, deep within yourself, the echoes of this ebb and flow? Is there perhaps a cellular memory of inhabiting a more fluid environment? All living things share this same beginning. Perhaps this is why we rock our children and rock ourselves as a way to comfort and calm ourselves. An unconscious memory of our earliest environment. Please draw up your knees and place your feet on the ground. And begin to do the wave-like motion, pulling the silk, only with the fingers of your dominant hand, your preferred side. The smallest movement possible. Find your personal wave-like rhythm. And listen to how your entire system can hear this and begins to attune itself to your pulsations. To begin to agree. And now allow your entire self to pick up the rhythm, bringing up the other hand, incorporating more and more of yourself into this rhythm. And can you very lightly, as you pull up the fingers and the toes and the tongue and your navel, can you also pull up the muscles of your pelvic floor, pulling up your anus, your genitals, just the slightest tightening you can imagine, and release it completely as you open your fingers. Some people keep these muscles constantly constricted without even realizing it. Can you let them go completely? Tightening and releasing. Very lightly. Sensing your mouth. Your tongue. Your breath. Your eyes. Your belly. Your spine. Pause a moment and be with your internal sensations. And now, can you orchestrate your hands and your feet, your breathing, your intention into a unified wave, inviting all the parts of yourself into this ebb and flow of your internal pulsation, reminding, touching on every part of yourself to call it into this timeless pattern. A pattern that speaks the language of water, a laughing brook, or gentle waves. Embodying the effortless movement of water, flowing over any obstacles in your path, finding the easy way, choosing the joyful path of non-resistance. Breathing, pulsating, withdrawing and expanding, flowing water, over time, can carve out the very hardest blocks of granite and can smooth out the very roughest of stones. Give yourself permission to flow gently with yourself. Continue in your process of self-nurturing and healing, being guided by your awareness of yourself and your internal sense, that part of you that knows what is good for you. Be as water is, without friction. Flow around the edges of those within your path. Surround within your ever-moving depths those who come to rest there. Enfold them, while never for a moment holding on. Accept whatever distance others are moved within your flow. Be with them gently, as far as they allow your strength to take them, and fill with your own being the remaining space when they are left behind. When dropping down life's rapids, froth and bubble into fragments if you must, knowing that the one of you, now many, will just as many times be one again. And when you've gone as far as you can go, quietly await your next beginning.